The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
These guys aren't playing around. It's time to put the books away and get in the room. It's time for Wrestling Recess. Now your hosts, Dysen Gould and Dom Deputy. PA Power Wrestling. Pennsylvania is wrestling.
Welcome back to another episode of PA Power Wrestling's Wrestling Recess. I am your host, Dysen Gould, and today I am joined by Tony Ramos, assistant coach at UNC. Thanks for joining me today, Tony. How's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you doing? Doing
pretty good. What have you been up to during this quarantine?
Not a whole lot. Just hanging out with my kids. Actually, nature trails we got in the neighborhood, and then just relaxing. A little bit of downtime where we're not on the road for once, doing a bunch of recruiting, tournaments, camps. So it's a little different feel, but making the best of it.
So rewind back a couple weeks ago, you guys get back home in Chapel Hill after ACCs. When did you kind of realize that the NCAAs might get canceled?
I don't know if we fully realized it was getting canceled until it happened. Some things that happened in other sports, the night before, I think basketball canceled their tournament. Or their season, the NBA, and then that morning before the NCAA canceled the tournament, we saw, Big Ten, ACC, and all those Power Fives close down their conference championships in basketball. I think that's when it kind of started to snowball, like, hey, this might be a possibility.
So the ACC doesn't allow you guys to go, and then there's a little bit of time, a couple hours in between that NCAA actually cancels the full tournament. What were those couple hours like, knowing that you guys aren't allowed to go, but other guys are going to be still competing?
I think by that time, everyone kind of knew it was going to get canceled. Too many schools had pulled out. You can't pull a whole conference out. Harvard, Ivy Leagues were pulling out. So I think, little by little, the tournament was falling apart. The NCAA really just had to cancel it.
How did the team find out?
We were in the middle of practice. Coach Scott was on the phone, meetings all day long. He came in and kind of brought the team in and just explained to them what was going on.
So what was that couple hours, like maybe half hour, like after the team found out? Did you guys kind of stick around, maybe just talk to them, or did some guys like finish the workout, or did guys just leave, or how did that play out?
Most guys were pretty much done with workouts. I think we only had a couple guys left going through their individual practices. I think I finished workout Monday. Just, you never know what's going to happen. So we finished workout. We didn't have much time of it left. And then, that's when Coleman brought us all in and told us what was going on. It was tough. I couldn't get emotional about it or anything. And, we had to be there for our guys. We had to, support them. We had to talk to them. We kind of had to get them looking to something else and get them to understand that, this is a terrible situation. It's going to rip your heart out, but there's more to life, and this is happening for a reason, to save a lot of lives.
So you as a coach, what was the feeling like? Because obviously you're going to be back coaching next year and at the NCAA tournament, hopefully next year. But the guys like seniors are done, and then the other guys they're losing a year of the NCAA tournament. What's that feeling for you, knowing that you're going to be back, but kind of unlike those other guys that are done?
For me, I don't know if I really felt much. You feel for the kids. You're hurting for the kids because there's a lot of kids that had opportunities taken from them. We had one senior in the lineup who this was his last chance to All-American. He was wrestling pretty well, doing a lot of the right things. And he didn't get to go out on his own terms. And that was one of the big things when I retired is, when you go out, you want to go out on your own terms and when you're ready. And some of these kids didn't get to do that. And it's hard, and it's something they're going to have to live with for the rest of their life. Then you got kids who had a chance to do something special. We had a guy who was seeded 2 going to the tournament, could have been the first national champ for us, in 20, 25 years, whatever it is, which is, for us, that's big. That could propel the program into the next level. But we found a lot of the goods in what we did this season. We've talked about it. We've celebrated it. Now we're getting ready for, to move forward as a group and keep doing the special things we did and just taking it into next year.
talk about kind of what your thoughts were about the extra year of eligibility that the NCAA voted on. Did you kind of expect that, or were you expecting them to not go through with it? Because I mean, if they would have went through with it, it really would have been a big mess on your guys as the coach's hands with recruiting and all that. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it would have been super tough. I don't know if I really had a thought on it, because from my understanding the whole way through is there was no chance it was happening. Do I think it's fair? I don't know if it is. And it would, like you said, there would have been a lot of domino effects going down the road for coaches and for schools and for programs. And those things you could work through and you could figure them out. But I don't know if it was a guarantee that every senior was going to come back, but at least it would have gave them a choice if they wanted to or not. But, I wouldn't say I started thinking that way, because everything we were hearing is, winter sports, there was no chance. The only sports that really had a chance were spring sports.
So they planned on having the NCAA tournament at the U.S. Bank Stadium, football stadium where the Vikings play. What were your thoughts on that idea of having such a big venue like that?
It would have been interesting. I felt like there were probably a couple different ways they could have laid it out to maybe better fan experience and still get the big numbers they were expecting, the 45,000, 50,000 people. But it would have been definitely an interesting experience. I would have liked to see how the finals and some of the other things were going to be set up with so much grass being around one mat. Were they going to bring seating onto the floor? I would like to see how those things were played out.
So the Olympics were not canceled, postponed to 2021 last week, I believe. What were your thoughts on that? Were you kind of expecting the Olympics to be postponed, or what did you think?
We had an idea it was going to get pushed back. There was a lot of talk about it. There was also some chatter that it might not be a possibility to even postpone the Olympics with all the contracts and having an Olympic Village and everything. So I'm glad they were able to work out those logistical parts and not cancel the whole event, because, this is a special thing. Guys have been training their whole life, and, some guys, this would have been their last opportunity to, make a run at it. So, one more year, you're seeing some guys retire because it is hard to train an extra whole year and still stay dedicated for that whole year. But, I think it's for the best health and the best product of what you're going to get from these athletes. We're in a situation right now where it's tough. These guys can't train. No one can get into rooms. No one can get into gyms, facilities, whatever it may be where they're training. And one of the biggest things that the Olympic represents is unity. It's a time when all these countries come together and there's unity, and there's, big opening ceremonies and parties and all these different things. How are you going to go and have an event like that when around the world everyone's struggling, everyone's, in this bubble or this situation, they don't know what's going on from a day-to-day basis. So it was a really good decision by the Olympic Committee and everyone to kind of move forward with this. And, the thing they're using the Olympics for now is a beacon. It's going to be a beacon of light at the end of this, where people are going to come together and support and honor sports when it, kind of all starts back up again.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting it to be postponed. I really didn't think that it would happen this year with all this going on. I didn't think, especially with so many different countries coming in, especially it's one thing with things being canceled inside the United States, but when you got a ton of different countries coming into Japan, that's just it's even worse. So I couldn't see it happening this year. I'm glad they decided to postpone instead of cancel.
Yeah.
Well, actually, back to NCAA for a second. I forgot. Speaking of postpone instead of cancel, what are your thoughts? Did you get any explanation on why they didn't postpone it or give it a chance instead of just canceling it like they did?
Oh, there was no conversations to us about it. Usually when the NCAA makes a decision, they don't tell you why or really rationale. That's the decision. That's what it is. Some of the things that I possibly think came into play is student-athlete well-being. The NCAA is a really big organization for the student-athlete well-being first. And asking these kids to one, train through this virus for a time being, not knowing when this may end or when we'll be able to, reschedule championships. And again, another situation being, hey, you guys got to stop training now, but if the championships are in August, you're going to have to start back up in July, and not really giving the kids the right, environment to succeed in, or training environment to succeed in. But I think, like you said, we can work around everything. We can find a way. And a lot of people probably would have rather had it postponed.
So back to the Olympics, what are your thoughts on everything going forward with that postponement, such as Olympic redshirts next year? Do you think there's going to be a 2020 Worlds? Do you think they try to push that in at the end of the year? Do you think 2021 Worlds are out the door now? Just what are your thoughts on all that going forward?
That one I'm not too sure. I know there's been some talk of possible still world championship, so we'll see if that happens. The Olympic red shirts, I don't know. I don't know if kids are going to want to take 2 years off of college and then come back if they've already taken an Olympic red shirt. And I think you're starting to see some of the kids that have the best success are the guys that come right out of the college season, where they're in that training cycle, they're in that competition cycle, and they, have been tested. They've been through a grind this season, and they go right into the Olympic season. They have a lot of success. So I don't know if the Olympic red shirt is really the best option.
Yeah, if you got guys like Dayton Fix, if he takes another one next year, he'd still have a chance to take one in 2024. And then me in 8th grade, if I'm in college, I could possibly be wrestling him in 2025 if he was able to take all 3 Olympic red shirts.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty crazy.
Yeah. So now talking a little bit about UNC and your guys' progress moving forward. You guys had 3 champs at ACC's first time since 2006, 7 NCAA qualifiers. Just talk about the progress you guys have made in jumps.
Everything on when you look at the stats, when you look at the year we had, it was by far awesome. We broke a lot of records. We did a lot of things for the first time, or a lot of things, in past 20, 25 years, whatever it might be. But to us, we still think there was more. And one of our biggest mottos at the end of the year, the whole year, was we want more. We were expecting more from ourselves. We're not just, wanting to be the best program right now at UNC or the best, program in 20, 25 years. We want to be the best. We want to be the national champs, the team champs, individual champs. We wanted to be ACC champs. And we felt like we were, a match or 2 away, a score here, a score there away from really changing that. We thought we had 5 guys in the finals. We thought we should have had 7. 3 champs, maybe 5 champs. So those things change, and it's a whole different ballgame. But like I said, looking back, we gotta still look at some of the great things we did. We finished 7th in the coaches poll. We had a great dual season. We beat some teams. We had a really good duel with NC State. We're closing the gap on them. And I think, we're about to get right over that hump. We were a couple of years behind them, in our process. They started a little bit ahead of us, but I think we've really caught ground on them and made for an exciting ACC season and an ACC conference. When it gets down to the national level, we got guys that are ready to compete for national titles. We got Austin O'Connor. We got Monday. We got Zach Sherman. We got Clay Lau. We got guys that are going to be coming in here next year ranked top, 8, top 5, whatever it may be. But we expect more from them. They expect more for themselves. And we want to start pushing for team trophies, team titles.
You mentioned the ACC being real competitive. Just talk about the strength of the ACC and just the growth it's had in the last couple of years. Some people and even me, I'd consider it probably the second best conference in the NCAA wrestling right now, behind Big Ten. I think ACC's passing Big 12. Just talk about the progress ACC has made.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. It's been cool to be a part of it too. I remember when I was going through school, ACC was kind of unheard of, or you didn't expect much from them if you had some of those guys. But it's totally changed, and we've definitely passed all these other conferences. I would put us up right with the tier of Big Ten. We just don't have the same mystique as the Big Ten right now. I think it's getting there. This year, preseason, we had 2 guys ranked number 1 to start the year. And, we might have another 2 guys going into next year ranked preseason number 1 if Makai Lewis, comes back at 65. So, we have those guys. We got guys competing on a daily basis against each other when we get into conference play. That might be wrestling in the national finals, might be wrestling, high-stake matches at the national tournament. And it's been exciting. It's made for a fun conference. The cool thing about our conference only having 6 teams in it is it allows us to go out and wrestle other programs and really set our schedule how we want it to be and have these other opportunities to wrestle some good Big 10, Big 12, whether it may be, whatever conference it is, whatever school it is.
Talk about the future for UNC. You guys got the big 2020 recruiting class coming in with 4 guys in the top 40 on the senior big board, which is the most and out of all the colleges. Just talk about that recruiting class you got coming in.
Yeah, it's been really fun. This was one of the first years where I kind of took over a lot of our recruiting stuff. I got promoted this year, and that was one of my duties, is taking over a lot of that. And one of my goals was to finally put together, a top 10, top 5 recruiting class. I'm hoping we get, top 5, top 3 somewhere in there. And some of these that come out, we were just 7 in flow. We're going out and we're starting to pick up these blue chip kids. We're starting to pick up the best of the best. You can develop kids, but you also need that top talent to be able to compete at the national level and at the biggest stages. We're getting kids now that have been proven and have been tested at these levels, and they've had a lot of success at these levels. So we're excited about the guys coming in. We can't wait for them to get in, red shirt, lineup, whatever they may be, and really show us what they have. And, the caliber of UNC wrestling is just going to get higher. We did a lot of special things last year. I can't wait till next year, let alone we didn't get to wrestle a national tournament. So that's why everyone's chomping at the bit to already get next year started. But we're chomping at the bit because we can't wait to see the lineup we put out there. We had some guys that were injured this year that could have been in the lineup that could have really helped make a difference. We got some young guys that are waiting in the wings that are just chomping at the bit to get their chance. There's a lot of competitiveness in the room, so we're excited about the direction the program's going. We're getting a lot of depth. I think this year we had 16 different starters in the lineup throughout the year. So, whoever it may be that takes the mat that day, they're going to go out there, they're going to perform for us.
Now moving on to your career a little bit, just talk about how you got started into the sport and maybe the early stages of your career. What was that like?
So I got started really young. I was 3 years old, wrestling with my oldest brother and my middle brother, and my dad was our coach at the kids club. And we were with Bill Recruiters for a very long time. That's where we kind of got our base and our foundation set. And then my parents moved for my dad's work. So then we tried out a couple different clubs, and we ended up with Martinez Elite. And then from there went to Izzy Style. And that's, Izzy Martinez, Izzy Style Wrestling. And that's, where I really started to kind of hit my stride and really start to set myself apart when it came to wanting to, be a world Olympic champ or just being some kid who went into college and, had a good career. My goals, were to go in there and be a multiple-time national champ and make world Olympic teams. That's when I started to really get that mentality and that work ethic. And then heading into college, it just translated and set me up into the positions I am now and the opportunities that I had through my wrestling career.
What do you remember about your high school career, being a 3-time Illinois high school state champion? What are some key moments, and maybe what do you remember? What was it like for you?
It was a lot of fun. I got to go through with my brother and with a lot of our very close friends that are still really close friends with me to this day. One of my favorite moments was actually when my brother won a state title for the first time his senior year. I had already won the previous year, and I had already won my second one that year, and he was waiting for his first one. And I remember after he won, just being so excited for him to finally get over that hump and have that success, because I'd seen the hard work he put in. And he had seen me a couple times have that pinnacle moment or that moment in the sport that everyone is striving for, and it was awesome to see him to have his moment.
Why did you choose Iowa? What stuck out to you about Iowa, and what are some other schools maybe you were interested in?
It was really down to 2 schools, really Oklahoma State, Iowa. Illinois a little bit. But, my brother and everyone went to Indiana. My brother and we had 4 other kids in our high school team that ended up going there too to be on the team. And I think everyone thought that's where I was going to end up. But for me, it came down to where I thought I was going to have the most success with coaches and coaches, partners, mentality, people that were about the things I was about. And, Iowa and Oklahoma State really fit that pretty well. And Iowa was close. It was closer to home, but that wasn't really the issue for me. Oklahoma State had kind of found their guy, and I stopped recruiting me a little bit. So then I ended up, going on my visit to Iowa. Loved it there, and I committed, pretty fast.
Moving into your college career, you made a big jump from your freshman year in 2011 to your sophomore year in 2012. In 2011, you were 1 win away from being an All-American, and then in 2012, you end up placing 3rd in NCAAs. Talk about that jump and maybe what you did in the offseason to propel you up to be on the podium in March.
Yeah, for me, not much changed. One thing I always tell my guys is if something doesn't go your way, you don't just bail on what you were doing or the right things you were doing. You just get better at them and you keep working hard and you put your head down and go to work. That's really what it was for me is I kept doing the things that was giving me success and the things that was making me a better wrestler and a better person. And I just did them harder and I did them more and I did them longer and I did them better. And then the other thing was mentality-wise. I remember having a conversation with Tom, and he was like, there's 40 guys at the end of this tournament that could say they were in the round of 12. You want to be one of those 40 guys, or do you want to be one of those 10 guys that walk out with what they came here for? Because only 10 guys walk out of the NCAA tournament, happy here or with what their goal was. Everyone wants to be the national champ. Only 10 guys can do that. And that kind of really stuck with me is do I want to be one of those, one of those 40 or one of those, 70 All-Americans, or do I want to be one of those freaking 10 guys? And I wanted to be in that special group. So that's when I put my head down, got to work, and just did anything I was told and, bought into the system and bought into what my coaches were preaching.
Did a close loss to Stever in 2013 motivate you to win that championship in 2014?
I don't think so. I didn't need the losses. I didn't need things like that to motivate me. Obviously, losses improve you because you know where you need to get better, and it makes you a better wrestler because it exposes your weaknesses. But motivation's got to be something that comes from within. And, for me, that was pretty easy. I wanted to be a national champ, and I was going to do whatever it took to do that.
34-0 all-time at Carver Hawkeye Arena. Talk about what it's like to wrestle in that crazy environment, especially when you're Penn and Penn State guys.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I think one thing for me was just, it was a special place. It was excited to go out there, and I always fed off, energy of the crowd and people around me, and there was always a lot of energy in that building. And at the same time, I was a really motivated person. I had a lot of confidence in myself. So I like to go out there and I like to prove people wrong. And, there were some duels in Carver or at home where I say I wasn't the favorite. I was supposed to lose. And, those got me really fired up. And then you got the crowd behind you and people going crazy, and as that match gets closer, and then I realize you got a chance, it gets louder and louder. And you can feel the energy in the air and you just feed off that. It's almost like you're wrestling on steroids, some people would say. So, it was fun. It was exciting. And those, I like to put on a show for my fans, and the only way you can do that is you got your hand raised, and I love doing that every time in Carver Hawkeye Arena. I
got to ask, when and how did the famous staredown start?
It just happened. That was one of you get your routines. You have your routines of how you get ready, and one of my routines was just kind of get in the line and get ready to go. And people started making a bigger deal out of it than I actually did, and just kind of went with it.
Can you talk a little bit about your international career, being a 2-time world team member in 2014 and 2015? Talk about the success you had in making a couple world teams. Yeah,
it was fun making those teams, and there's definitely a lot more I would have liked to have done. I don't have any regrets about my career anywhere, and there's some times where you don't do exactly what you want to, what you expected of yourself. But I can tell you, I put a lot of effort into those years and a lot of hard work, and making those teams was hard. I beat some good guys to make those teams. I beat some good guys to get back into the trials finals every year and put myself in position to have a chance to, be our world rep, Olympic rep, whatever it may be. So, I don't have any regrets or anything I would change with those. There's just some of those moments where that stick out and kind of burn you. And one of those would be the 2015 World Championships. I put myself in position to win a match against Iran, and you make one bad move or one mistake and have a brain fart, and you go from possibly putting yourself in a good position to win a world title and win a medal to, relying on someone to bring you back through the tournament. And he did bring me back through, but I wasn't in the right mental place. Those are those ones where you're like, man, I had a lot of success, but I know I could have done a little bit better.
Talk about what it's like to go overseas and wrestle in different countries, just seeing different cultures and eating maybe some different food and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's fun to be able to travel the world. For me, every time I was traveling the world, I was cutting a lot of weight. So I wouldn't say it was that great of an experience for me. I was always angry, losing a lot of weight, a lot of late nights, a lot of extra workouts, because traveling and cutting weight's not easy, especially when you're doing those 2-3 day travels and you can't work out and all you're doing is eating. And by the time you get there, you got some extra weight you got to lose. I remember there were a couple times where I showed up, first time we went to Iran for the Club World Cups, we couldn't even get a scale. By the time we got a scale, I was like 15 pounds over, and we had like 2 days before we wrestled. And then you're cutting weight, outside, doing whatever you can do because there's not gyms, there's not the types of facilities we have back home. So I always tell people every time I get back, man, I love being in the United States of America. We're so privileged. We have great opportunities, and we provide great opportunities for everyone. So it always gave me a better appreciation of where we were at.
What was the transition like from moving from competing to competing and coaching?
It's pretty easy. Nothing really changes. Everything, if you go at it with the same competitive mind, you're going to have success. And for me, it was, I wanted to be the best at whatever I was going to do, and I wasn't going to do it halfway. You just have to manage your time really well. And I think near the end of my career, I just wanted to spend more time on my coaching aspect. And that's when I really was able to make the decision of, hey, my drive and my competitive drive is going in a different direction. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just because I don't want to compete anymore and I don't want to put that effort in competition wise, I want to put that effort in coaching wise. I want to start making a difference in these kids' lives and helping them achieve their dreams, and helping them get to the pinnacles of the sport, whatever it may be. So now all my competitive drive's put into that. And I think you see that through my fire when I'm coaching my guys and the way I work with my guys and the recruiting classes we're bringing in and the effort and energy, we put out and the hustle we put out.
So the 2019 World Team Trials in Raleigh, you take off your shoes in the middle of the mat once you're eliminated from the tournament as a sign of retirement. What was that feeling like? What went into that decision? What was that feeling like just standing there at the middle of the mat with standing ovation?
It was really cool. It's one of the biggest signs of respect you could have is a whole arena kind of standing up, clapping for you, honoring what you've done, even though, going through your career, you might have been an enemy or a competitor too. And I had a lot of great people reach out to me afterwards and, tell me a lot of great things. And it was cool. It was fun. I knew I wanted to enjoy my moment because I wanted to go out when I was ready, and I knew when I was ready, and I knew there was going to be a time sometime, whether it be that year, end of the year. And I was happy I got to do it in front of most of my family. If there's one thing I wish my dad and my brothers could have been there. And I had, pre-warned them ahead of time, like, hey, I can't say, I'm going into this tournament expecting to win, but if I don't win, there's a chance I could retire, and I'd really like you to be there. But they had work, they had things they had to do, and I understood, and they were banking on me making it to the Final X and, going on to Wrestling World Championships and being there for that. So I understand it. They have a lot of confidence in me. I have a lot of confidence in myself. And it was fun. I just wish they could have been there to see that last hurrah.
So talking a little bit about your parenting, so you have a couple kids. How do you plan on, or how are you trying to get them into the sport? Obviously not pushing them, but how are you kind of leading the way into the sport for them?
I don't know if I am. It's one of those things where I'm not going to push them, and it's not going to be one of those things where I'm going to say either. I want them to try whatever they want to try, and if they have the motivation to wrestle, and which they do, they've already asked hundreds of times. They do it on a daily basis because they see it all the time. It's going to be an easy sport for them to find. They're surrounded by it. Their life's always going to be somehow surrounded by wrestling, whether it be coming to watch our guys wrestle, coming to practices and hanging out, which they do sometimes, or finally going to their own practices. And the first thing that I tell everyone when I do get to their practices in the start of the season is, hey, I'm not here to ask me questions about wrestling. I'm not here to help your kids get better. I'm here to be a dad and enjoy this and, let the coaches coach and watch my kids have fun. And that's one of the biggest things I tell a lot of people is, you're a parent, let the coaches coach, let them do their job. You signed them up for this program or whatever it may be because you trusted in those people. So trust in them and believe in the system. And if your kids see that you're not trusting them and believing in the system, why are they going to buy into it? So for me, it's, be that support. Be there when they need you. Be there for, the tough times they have. Be their rock. Don't be the person who's screaming at them the whole time. Don't be the person who's, trying to tell them they need to do this and this better because they have those coaches there. I would never – and you don't see it now. You don't see it at all. You don't see parents coming out of the stands, at a football game and running up to the coach on the sideline and telling him he needs to do this, this, and this during the game. It just doesn't happen. And I think we need to, really take some pages out of some other sports when it comes to our youth sports, in wrestling.
That's all I got for you today, Tony. Thanks for coming on with me. I really appreciate you giving me your time for a little bit. And anything else you'd like to say to me and the listeners before I let you go?
No, just everyone stay safe, stay home. This time's going to pass, and we're doing it for a higher reason, and the better the lives of people. So stay positive and go Heels.
Thanks, Tony. Really appreciate it.